Shalom, and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Beaton. We are reading today from the book of Mark, starting at chapter 13. Mark, chapter 13, verse 1. 1. And he went out of the Abrahamic-Faith, the temple. One of his disciples said to him, Rabbi, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. 2. And Yeshua answering said to him, You see these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, over against the Abrahamic-Faith, the temple, Kepha and Yaakov and Yehochanan, John and Andrei asked him privately. 4. Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled? 5. And Yeshua answering them began to say, Take heed lest any man deceive ye. 6. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many. 7. And when you shall hear of wars and rumours of wars, be not troubled, for such things must be. But the end shall not be yet. 8. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in various places, and there shall be famines. These are the beginnings of sorrows. 9. But take heed to yourselves, for they shall hand ye over to councils, and in the congregations you shall be beaten. And you shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. 10. And the Besorah must first be proclaimed amongst all nations. 11. But when they shall lead you and hand you over, take no thought beforehand what you shall speak, neither decide what to say, but whatever shall be given you in that hour, that you speak. For it is not you that speaks, but the Ruach HaKadosh, set apart spirit. 12. Now the brother shall hand over the brother to death, and the Av the son, and children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. 13. And you shall be hated by all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be rescued. 14. But when you shall see the idolatrous object that astonishes, standing where it should not be, let him that reads understand. Then let them that be in Yehudah flee to the mountains. 15. And let him that is on the housetop not go down into the house, neither enter in to take anything out of his house. 16. And let him that is in the field not turn back again, for to take up his garment. 17. But woe to them that are with child, and to them that nurse young children in those days. 18. And petition that your flight be not in the winter. 19. For in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of the creation which Elohim created to this time, neither shall be. 20. And except that Yahweh has shortened those days, no flesh should be rescued, but for the elect's sake, which he has chosen, he has shortened the days. 21. And then, if any man shall say to you, Lo, here is Messiah, or Lo, he is there, believe him not. 22. For false messiahs and false prophets shall rise, and shall show signs and wonders to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect. 23. But take heed, behold, I have foretold you all things. 24. But in those days, after the tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. 25. And the stars of Shamayim, heaven, shall fall, and the powers that are in Shamayim, heaven, shall be shaken. 26. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. 27. And then shall he send Malachim, angels, and shall gather together the elect from the four winds, from the uppermost part of the earth to the uppermost part of Shamayim, of heaven. 28. Now learn a parable of the fig etz, the tree. When her branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. 29. So you, in like manner, when you shall see these things come to pass, know that it is near, even at the doors. 30. Verily I say to you, that this generation shall not pass till all these things be done. 31. Shamayim, heaven, and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. 32. But of that day and that hour knows no man, no, not the messengers which are in Shamayim, heaven, neither the Son, but the Av. 33. Take heed, watch, for you know not when the time is. 34. For the Son of Man is as a man taking a far journey, who left his bed, his house, and gave authority to his servants, and to every man his work, and commanded the porter to watch. 35. Watch you therefore, for you know not when the master of the beth, the house, comes, at evening, or at midnight, or at the crier blowing the shofar, or in the morning. 36. Lest coming suddenly he finds ye sleeping. 37. And I say to you, what I say to all, be vigilant. So that now brings us to the end of chapter 13. So let's have a look at some of the footnotes in chapter 13. So the first footnote we have is in verse 2. And Yahushua answering said to him, you see these great buildings, there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Okay, so let's have a look at this thrown down. So we have here the destruction of the temple prophesied that was to take place in 70 CE. This indicates the Gospel of Mark was written before 70 CE. However, there is no second witness that Mark was written earlier. Okay, so there is no second witness to say that Mark was written earlier. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 6. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many. So many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah. Let's have a look at this Messiah. The term Messiah means the anointed one. So many will come claiming they are the anointed one, who will lead one to eternal life, but instead, he will be a deceiver. Okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 7. And when you shall hear of wars and rumours of wars, be not troubled, for such things must be, but the end shall not be yet. So let's have a look at this, not be yet. So we have here, these are the Islamic wars with Israel. We have 6 so far, and there will be more yet. There are plenty of rumours of war with Iran right now, and we know this will come to pass as Scripture says it will happen in the future. Okay? So this is talking about wars and rumours of wars. Okay? So, talking of war. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 8. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Okay, nation against nation. Let's have a look at this. So we have, see Matthew 24 and 6. So let's have a look at Matthew 24 and 6. So Matthew 24 and 6 reads, And you shall hear of wars and rumours of wars. See that you be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay, so we have a footnote for wars. So let's have a look at this. So it says here, rumours of fighting with Muslim nations, such as Iran. Okay, so we see that happening today. Israel and Iran talks about them going to war. So this is what this is speaking about. Wars and rumours of wars. Okay. So let's go to the next footnote, which is in the same verse. So, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes. So let's have a look at these earthquakes. So we have here, these are not ordinary earthquakes, but major shakers, like the tsunami in 2004, the Pakistani earthquake in 2005, and they are shaking the Muslim world up, as these are the battle line countries mentioned in Psalm 83 and Ezekiel 38. So let's have a look at Psalm 83 and see what we can get from that. So Psalm 83, I'll read a few of the verses and then we'll see if we can get some footnotes from a few of the verses. So Psalm 83 reads, Keep not you silence, O Elohim, hold not your shalom, be not still, O El. For behold, your enemies make a tumult, and they that hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people, and consulted against your sheltered ones. They have said in their plans, works, Let us conceal and cut them off from becoming a nation, that henceforth the name of Israel will not be remembered. Okay, so let's just have a look at these verses I've read here. So we have a footnote in verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted against your sheltered ones. So there's a footnote here for sheltered ones. So it reads, All the Islamic nations have raised their voice against Israel. Okay? So your sheltered ones is talking about Israel. Okay? So if we go to verse 4, they have said in their plans and their works, Let us conceal and cut them off from becoming a nation, that henceforth the name of Israel will not be remembered. Okay, so we have here a footnote for remembered. So the footnote reads, World War III, Unmasking the End Times Beast, page 157. This was literally fulfilled by the Muslim nations, as they did say these very exact words, in order to cut off, meaning to kill every living Yehudi from the land of Israel. There had to be a land resurrected back after the diaspora. For 1,878 years, we did not see a land that the Yehudim could call home, Israel. Ben Ami, the true Hebrews in the south, did not move to Israel until 1967 onwards. The resurrection of the land in 1948 by the Zionists was not by the hands of Elohim, as they are not the chosen. Really, it was in 1967 that a fraction of the real Hebrews entered the land, and even today, many black Hebrews are not welcomed by the state of Israel Zionists. The purpose of bringing in the Ethiopian Jews in the 70s, who are the real chosen tribe of Yehuda and not Gad, was to strengthen the Zionist numbers to favor themselves, but was not to restore true ancient Israel, hence why they were never given any positions of authority or handed any power. This is the plan of the Zionists, to keep them out of power, but they will not succeed, as Melech Yahweh will one day remove the Zionists to cleanse the land in order to bring the real chosen Hebrews from around the nations, starting from Africa, America, and Europe, with the large populations of the black Hebrews. See Isaiah 54. And also, we did not see the Muslim nations come into existence until Muhammad proclaimed the religion of Islam as supreme in the 7th century CE. So this prophecy cannot apply to the Roman Empire or revived Roman Empire or the USA theory, but only applies to the beast mentioned in Revelation 13. This beast is distinct from the others and is a coalition of these three empires: the lion, Babylon, the bear, Persia, and the leopard, the Grecian, which are all Islamic regions today. Notice, part of this conspiracy to hide the name of true Israel are the Zionists, in which they are referenced as the tents of Edom in verse 6 and Amalek in verse 7. The true Israelites have been manifestly under a secret plan, hidden and suppressed, so that another people, the sons of Japheth, the Jewish converts of yesterday, who are Gentiles, are concealing the true Hebrews, who are not yet in the land in force. The political Zionists, Gentiles, plans are never to allow the real Hebrews to be in power. Hence why both the Muslims and the Zionists here are in collusion, while the Muslims hate the Zionists and are trying to oust the so-called chosen when they are not. Okay, so there you have the understanding. So, we have the Zionists, obviously, who are calling themselves the real Jews, and then you have, the Muslim nations also from Babylon, Persia, and the Grecian areas. Okay, so there is a understanding here that these nations, are trying to obviously keep the real Yehudi, the real Jews, down and out of the land. So this, will be returned or will be turned around when you have Shura, Melech Yahshua, and obviously Yahweh, comes to reunite or return his people to the land. Okay, so I hope that's given you a little more understanding on Psalm 83 regarding the Muslim nations and the Zionists. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 12. And the brother shall hand over the brother to death, and the Av the son, and children shall rise up against their parents. Okay, so now the brother shall hand over. So now the brother, let's have a look at this. So kinsmen, like Muslims, who will betray their brothers and sisters who convert away from Islam by having them murdered. Okay, so this is talking about the Muslims here will have their brothers murdered. Okay, those who turn away from Islam and obviously come back to, the true calling of Judaism or Torah, and maybe those who convert to Christianity as well. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote. So we have also carrying on. Now the brother shall hand over the brother to death, and the Av the son, and children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. Okay, let's have a look at this, put to death. So this is a common occurrence in Muslim nations. Remember, the battle lines are between the 12 sons of Ishmael and the 12 sons of Israel. Okay? So this is obviously the end time battle, the sons of Ishmael and the sons of Israel. So let's have a look at the next footnote, which is in verse 13. And you shall be hated by all men for my name's sake, but he that endures to the end, the same shall be rescued. Okay, so you shall be hated by all men, by all. Let's have a look at this all. The Hebrew word kul, K-U-L, here does not mean the whole world and every man, woman and child, but it is geographic and country-centric. It means all men, that is, all Muslim nations will hate you. Okay? So this is talking about all Muslim nations will hate you, obviously. Those who are in Muslim nations who've come back to the Torah or returned to Christianity will be hated. Okay? By all men. So let's have a look at this, all men. The term men is a well-recognized rabbinic term for the house of Israel, the 10 tribes. The 10 tribes were scattered into the Assyrian Empire, which largely today is occupied by Muslims. This prophecy is coming to pass in our days when Muslims hate the ones who put their trust in Yahushua, the Messiah. Okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which we have in verse 14. But when you shall see the idolatrous object that astonishes. So idolatrous object, let's have a look at this. So it says here, see Matthew 24:15. So let's have a look at Matthew 24:15. Matthew 24:15, and it reads, When you therefore shall see the idolatrous object that astonishes, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the set-apart place. Whosoever reads, let him understand. Okay, so we have a footnote here for idolatrous object that astonishes. So let's have a look at that quickly. So it says here, this is about the coming anti-Messiah. The usage of the words in Jeremiah are literal. Yahweh will make an utter end of them by a literal flood, and this is the reason why Daniel's usage is literal and not allegorical. Most of the anti-Messiah's armies will be destroyed with a literal flood, Yahweh's system to flush the enemy. Did that happen in 70 CE? The answer is no, not yet, so it is yet future. Daniel 9:26. The end of it shall be with a flood. Okay? So we're talking about the idolatrous object that astonishes. So this is about the coming anti-Messiah. Okay, and it reads, this will be set up by the Muslim anti-Messiah. The reading is omitted that says spoken of by Daniel the prophet, although we know it was spoken of by him. This will astonish people. How come this mosque is there when it should not be? In the ancient Hebrew, shikutz means hollow fire. So this setup by the anti-Messiah will be something to impress the Muslim nations, but will be something fake. It may well be the platform from where the anti-Messiah will demonstrate miracles with the help of Satan. The first letter, Shin, indicates it will be some kind of brightness. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is a continuation. The object that astonishes, standing where it should not be. Let him that reads understand, and let them that be in Yehuda flee to the mountains. Okay, let's have a look at this. To the mountains. Drash, to flee, not just into the Rocky Mountains, but also into other nations, which are supportive of Israel. Drash, to flee, not just into the Rocky Mountains, but also into other nations, which are supportive of Israel. The US, the UK, and some other shepherd nations will house the Yehudim in these times. Okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 20. And except that Yahweh had shortened those days, no flesh should be rescued, but for the elect's sake. Okay, but for the elect's sake. Let's have a look at this. Israel is the only elected nation. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 22. For false messiahs and false prophets shall rise, and shall show signs and wonders to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect. Okay, let's have a look at this, elect. So it says here, many elected are deceived already. Okay, so the next footnote we have is in verse 27. And then shall he send Malachim, angels, and shall gather together the elect. So let's have a look at this, gather together the elect. So it says here, all the remaining 12 tribes. Okay? So the next footnote after that is in verse 28. Now learn a parable of the figuettes tree. When her branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. Okay, let's have a look at this. You know that summer is near. The figuettes tree is Israel. Yahshua prophesies that when Israel is restored, then know that the time is near for the end. Okay? So the next footnote after that is in verse 30. Verily I say to you, that this generation shall not pass. Okay, this generation. So see footnote Matthew 24:34. Okay, footnote Matthew 24:34, and it reads, Verily I say to you, this generation shall not pass till all these things are fulfilled. Okay, so we have a footnote here for generation, so let's read that. In the Aramaic, the word is Shabbata, and is correctly translated in Pashita as tribe. So we can see Yahushua was referring to the tribe of Judah, that was in the land of Israel, to be dispersed and regathered for the end times. Okay? So it was talking about the tribe of Judah here. Alright? To disperse and to be regathered at a later date. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 35. Watch you therefore, for you know not when the master of the Beth, the house, comes, at evening, or at midnight, or at the crier blowing the shofar. So we have here a footnote for shofar, so let's have a look at this. So we have here, Yahushua here shows us the 4 watches of the night, and also tells us that it will be at a major Chag, a celebration, that he will come. The term rooster crowing is not what the intention is, of the text, but crier blowing a shofar, which happened at the annual feast. Okay, so we're talking about a shofar here, a ram's horn, okay, being blown. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of chapter 13, Mark chapter 13. So I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. This is Rabbi Beaton saying thank you for watching. Baruch Shem, Kivod, Malkuto Le'alam Va'ed. Benevolent be the name of his esteemed kingdom, forever and ever and ever. Amen.